Welcome back to the Obscure, the place where the veil thins, the shadows breathe, and the stories we tell have a habit of lingering long after the episode ends. I'm your host, and tonight we're stepping into a haunting that doesn't just cling to a place, it clings to a person. A haunting that whispers, follows, and remembers. So settle in, dim the lights, and if you hear something behind you while you listen, don't turn around. It's always worse when you look. Tonight's tale is called The House That Followed Me. I first saw the house on a night when the fog lay thick enough to swallow the whole world. I wasn't supposed to be on that road. My sat-nav had glitched, rerouting me through part of the countryside I didn't recognise. The headlights carved out only a few feet of visibility, and the silence inside the car felt heavy, like the air itself was listening. Then the house appeared. A tall, narrow silhouette at the end of a gravel drive, its windows glowing faintly as though lit by candles. I should have kept driving. Every instinct in me said don't stop, but the fog was too dense and the road too narrow. I pulled in, thinking I'd wait for the weather to clear. The moment I turned off the engine, the lights in the house went out. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, telling myself it was nothing, a power cut, a coincidence. But then I saw movement in the upstairs window, a figure, tall and thin, standing perfectly still, watching me. I locked the doors. Minutes passed, the fog pressed against the car windows like damp hands, and then from the back seat I heard breathing. I didn't look. I couldn't. I just started the engine in reverse so fast the tyres spat gravel. When I finally dared to glance in the rearview mirror, the back seat was empty. But the house was closer to the road than before, as if it had shifted. I didn't sleep that night. I told myself it was exhaustion, stress, imagination. But the next morning when I stepped outside my flat, I froze. Across the street where an empty lot had been the day before, stood the house. Same narrow frame, same dark windows, same sense of being watched. I blinked and the curtains in the upstairs window twitched. I called the council. They insisted nothing had been built there. I asked neighbours. They looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But every time I left my flat, the house was there. Sometimes across the street, sometimes at the end of the road, sometimes reflected in shop windows even when it wasn't physically present. And always that figure in the upstairs window, watching. The voices started a week later. At first, faint murmurs in the corners of rooms, then whispers behind me as I brushed my teeth. Then, one night, a voice right beside my ear as I lay in bed. You stopped. You saw us. Now we see you. I moved flats. The house moved with me. I changed cities. It appeared outside hotel windows. I tried staying with friends. They heard footsteps in the hall at night, even though no one was there. One friend, the last friend who still believed me, insisted we confront it. So we drove to an empty field where the house had appeared the night before. The grass was flattened in a perfect rectangle, as though something impossibly heavy had been sitting there. He placed his hand on the ground. It was warm. That night, he woke screaming. He said he dreamt of the upstairs room, the one with the figure, and that something inside had tried to pull him through the window. He left before sunrise and never spoke to me again. And I don't blame him. The house grew bolder. I'd find its door open. Even when it wasn't physically there, I'd hear footsteps pacing just behind me in broad daylight. Shadows stretched toward me even when the sun was overhead. And then, one night, I woke to find myself standing in the middle of the staircase. Not my staircase. The walls were narrow, the wallpaper peeling. The air smelled of damp earth and old wood. I knew where I was before I reached the top step. The house had brought me inside. The upstairs corridor was long and dark, lined with doors that seemed to breathe in and out. At the far end, a faint light flickered. I walked towards it, unable to stop myself, as the invisible hands were guiding me. The door creaked open. Inside was a small room lit by a single candle, and standing beside it, the figure. Tall, thin, and a face hidden in shadow. It raised a hand and pointed at the floor. There, scratched into the wooden boards, were words. You live here now. I ran. I don't remember how I escaped, only that I woke up outside my own flat, barefoot, shaking with splinters embedded in my feet. I tried to burn the house, I tried to ignore it, I tried to end the haunting by confronting it, by refusing to look at it, by researching its origins. Nothing worked. Because the house isn't a place. It's a parasite. It attaches itself to anyone who sees it, anyone who stops, anyone who notices. And now that you've heard this story, now that you've pictured the house in your mind, you've seen it too. If you notice a tall, narrow silhouette at the end of your street tonight, don't stop, don't look, don't acknowledge it, because once the house knows you've seen it, it follows. You've been listening to The Obscure, where the strange is familiar, the familiar is strange, and the things we fear most are often the ones that follow us home. If, after tonight's tale, you find yourself glancing at the end of your street, if you notice a shape where there shouldn't be one, if a window seems a little too dark, a little too tall, just remember, stories don't end when the episode does. Some of them linger, some of them wait, and some keep looking back. If you enjoyed tonight's descent into the uncanny, make sure to follow, rate and share The Obscure. It helps more curious souls find their way into our little corner of the shadows. Until next time, stay cautious, stay curious, and stay obscure.